It's not an easy thing at those days for me. If it was I come from a household which had nothing to do with the art.
What would you consider your most memorable role to be, and why?
Of course, there are certain milestones. See, eventually, I think in an actor's life, there are a couple of milestones which people remember the actor by. So there are a few memorable roles of mine from theatre and from film and from Marathi film, which till today people talk about it and they still come on television. They say, "Oh, we saw this and we saw that." A film called Savat Maji Ladki, which was very, very, very popular even today. You also have more platforms. I think OTT again gives you a new lease in life. So there was this one film of mine which was Photo Prem, which came about 2 years ago. I think you should check it out. It's a really brilliant film. Then there's another film I got released last year, which was Shastri with Shastri.
You know, one of the memorable roles for us, when we think of Neena Kulkarni ji, we think of Hungama. And that was such a beautiful movie. Even today, if I say your name, the first thing that comes up was, she was in Hungama.
That's why I mean that when I said that there are certain milestone films which people remember more than the actor. And maybe Hungama is one of them also, yes, definitely.
But you ventured out of these languages too. You just mentioned that you did a French film.
Yes. I did a French series and I did a French film. And I was this bad mother-in-law who had to speak.
I wanted to go through your professional career. You started acting a while ago. So what inspired you to pursue acting?
It was a hobby during my days. It was not a career choice which was taken on. I started with theatre. Films came much later. So I will start with what I started with. I started with Hindi and Marathi theatre and English theatre. And it was an extracurricular activity in those years. I'm talking about the 70s, 1970s. That was my extracurricular activity which I did.
When I think of Hungama, the first actress that rings a bell is Neena Kulkarni. Neena Kulkarni ji is a fantastic actress. She's done a multitude of things in her acting career. And this podcast explores exactly that. Let's welcome Neena Kulkarni ji. Namaste Neena ji, welcome to Inner Habit. How are you?
Namaste. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for being here. I truly appreciate it. We have been trying to connect because you've been really busy, and I'm so glad you finally made it and we've finally been able to connect.
Yes.
So Neena ji, I wanted to go through your professional career. You started acting a while ago. So what inspired you to pursue acting?
Well, I started really early as a hobby. And then it was a hobby during my days. It was not a career choice which was taken on. I started with theatre.
Yeah.
So films came much later. So I will start with what I started with. So I started with Hindi and Marathi theatre and English theatre. And it was an extracurricular activity in those years. I'm talking about the 70s, 1970s. So that was my extracurricular activity which I did. And then it's a journey actually. You can't really say the day you started and the day you left. It's nothing like that. It's a journey which, if you're interested enough, you pursue. And there's so many people who are there with me today have opted out of it, you know. So it's just a very personal choice that you make to become an actor or not. Not like today where it is a career choice. So that's the difference I would like to definitely point out. Is that when I began, it was not even a very lucrative career choice, especially theatre. But it was very active though. I have to say that. There was experimental theatre, there was amateur theatre, there were languages, there was a rich repertoire of, of plays to choose from. So we had choices.
So you started with theatre, and then was it all of a sudden that you actually got offered into movies, or was it a gradual transition into it?
Very gradual, very, very gradual. It's not an easy thing at my those days for me. If it was I come from a household which had nothing to do with the arts. My parents were doctors, so so the films were the big bad world at that time. Definitely looked upon as that. Theatre was a little better. It's okay. It's like it's on the ground. So yes, the transition from. But it was gradual. I don't think it was a big deal. It was just, as I said, it's a journey of an actor. So whatever I've done is because I was curious about it. Not because the world wanted me to and somebody persuaded me. It was nothing like that. It's always been my own choice. Today it's my choice that I'm talking to you. So my choice has been always very, very clear. So it was a gradual thing that I wanted to perhaps see myself on a canvas, a different canvas, try myself out, and that's how it happened. But before that, I was also doing television, and not today's television, that those days. So I was doing ads also. So I was used to the camera. So it's not that suddenly jump from theatre to films and the big bad cameras come on. It wasn't like that at all. It was very, very gradual. I was a very, very popular model before that. So I've done multiple things, and as I said, it's a gradual journey.
What do you enjoy the most, your theatre days or your movie days? I mean, they're completely.
I don't think I still do multiple things. Like I'm just rehearsing for a play just now, and then I'm also doing television. I've done a couple of films which will be coming out soon. So you have so many mediums today, so you have a lot of choices, and I think all you have to do is choose the best. So it's still always about the role.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you prepare for a role?
It also depends on the medium again. I mean, if you're doing theatre, then definitely you would be, rehearsing for months on end, 2 months, 1 month. They're grand rehearsals. You're totally prepared. I mean, when you go on stage for the first time as the first show, you are prepared. There's a preparation behind it. Lots of rehearsals, lots of technical rehearsals, grand rehearsals, interactive improvisations. So that's a longer process, but it's there too. And once the show starts, then you're all set. So in films, it's different. They give you a brief, and then they kind of when you go, then so that's more gradual, because I mean, I'm definitely not in an age where I'll be doing the main roles or anything like that. So whatever role one is offered, I look at the entire scenario, what it is, and whether I'm interested enough to work in that setup. So it's more about the setup also. So it's not about the length and breadth of the role necessarily. It is about the setup. And like one film of mine has just come out, The Signature, which is on Z5. So the role is quite small actually, if you go to see, but it's a very, very challenging role, because I have to be lively enough for people to be interested in this woman who's on the ventilator now. So whatever scenes I was given, so it's like that. I'm very fluid as an actor. There are no hard and fast. I think all actors are. There are no hard and fast rules as to what you choose, when you choose, and why you choose. Yes, definitely you need to have the time and the aptitude to want to do it. So that's it. Like just I'm doing theatre after about 8 years. No, 7 years, I think. Yeah, in Marathi. English, I'm already doing a play. Yeah, Gahan. So it depends. Yeah.
So, can you share your experiences from the early days in Marathi theatre, or even just generally? What
Hindi theatre more actually I did that time.
Okay, and what did you enjoy about theatre so much? Like, was it the stage? Some people love.
I was learning that time. I had very good teachers. I mean, I called them teachers, but they were my directors then. But I learned on the job. I haven't gone to any acting school or anything. So there was Pandit Satyadev Dubey, with whom I started experimental and amateur theatre. Is where I met Shishir Sharma, actually, if you go to see, so who's persuaded me to do this podcast today. And it was not paying. As I say, it was an extracurricular activity. And it was fun in those days, definitely. It was exciting because you were going and doing something which everybody wasn't doing. There was only certain people who could really come in that. It was a very motley crowd. And then from there on, I went on to Marathi theatre, which was again professional, where you get paid for what you do, Of course, one started in a very minuscule thing. And there are many more shows. There's a lot of travel through Maharashtra. Now so they go abroad also. So Marathi theatre is a very lucrative career option. Even today, there are lots of Marathi actors who only do that and survive it. Yeah. So very few people know that. Also on your podcast, I would like to tell people that despite being a regional language, Marathi theatre is one of the most busiest theatres in the world. Yeah.
I've heard of Gujarati, Bengali, but I didn't know how big Marathi theatre.
That is why I said yes. It's very big. It's bigger.
Okay.
We have as many as 20-25 shows a month, literally.
Wow.
Once we start, yes.
That's just blown my mind. Like, I didn't see that one coming. 20-25 shows.
Yeah, I mean, of a play which is working. And then there are plays which have gone on for years. For years. There are actors who've dedicated their entire lives to that one particular play because that's what made them. So we have things like 10,000 shows and 12,000 shows and 15,000 shows of some iconic plays. We have very good playwrights.
Yeah. So you've done so many roles, and I did watch The Signature actually because I do have Z5. So it was a very good movie, and you're right. It was the idea that you said where you had to connect with the audience because you were on a ventilator and you had to people had to be connected to you was so true. What would you consider your most memorable role to be, and why?
No, I don't think I can really say that. Of course, there are certain milestones. See, eventually, I think in an actor's life, there are a couple of milestones which people remember the actor by. And that's not in his or her hands. It's just that somebody remembers something, So there are a few memorable roles of mine from theatre and from film and from Marathi films, which till today people talk about it and they still come on television. They say, oh, we saw this and we saw that. So I have a couple of them, yes. There's a film called Savat Maji Ladki, which was very, very, very popular even today. When it comes, I won the state awards that year for it. And so that is one very, very popular movie. There's another movie called I, which was also very, very, it did very well in the theatres also. I'm talking about the older ones. And of course, today I do shorter roles, obviously because of my age and everything. But you also have more platforms. I think OTT again gives you a new lease in life. So there was this one film of mine, which was Photo Praying, which came about 2 years ago. I think you should check it out. It's really a brilliant film. It's a first-time director, but the theme is so unique that you will not find it anywhere else. It's that good.
And what platform does that come on?
That comes on Amazon Prime.
I'll have a look for that. I really will want to watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it.
Then there's another film I got released last year, which was Shastri Vidut Shastri, which is on Viacom with Paresh Rawal. That's another very, very... It was a remake of a Bengali film, a Hindi film, what we did. Again, that was much appreciated. So one is having a lot of releases even now.
That's really good. And it's good to be active,
It's my profession, so...
One of the memorable roles for us, when we think of Neena Kulkarni ji, we think of Hungama.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that was such a beautiful movie. Even today, if I say your name, the first thing that comes up was, she was in Hungama.
That's why I mean that when I said that there are certain milestone films which people remember more than the actor. And maybe Hungama is one of them also, yes, definitely. It was a comedy, so I guess it was.
It was just fantastic, I've got to tell you.
People still, on Instagram and all, they write those dialogues, whatever, the cut pada, I don't even remember it, but then they still remember. So yeah, there are certain roles which are liked and loved by the audiences.
Yes, and that Hungama we watch over and over again. So it's something that we really enjoy. We get together in groups as well, and we watch the movie. Okay. It's a fantastic performance in that too.
Yeah, thank you.
You've done a number of projects recently, The Signature being one of them. What sort of attracts you to those type of roles? There's so much you've done in your career, different types of roles. So what attracts you to the role? Is it the script?
Again, it depends. If you want to talk of signature, particularly, I have done the same movie, the same role in Marathi, which won the National Award for the actor who worked in it, Mr. Vikram Gokhale. So and I've done a lot of good work with the director of the film, Gajendra Ahire. So when Gajendra approached me and he said, listen, I'm doing this in Hindi and I can't think of anybody else for this. And since you do Hindi film, I would very much like to invite you for the same role. So I gladly went. So the comfort zone was there definitely that Gajendra there. And I also knew being in Hindi, definitely he'll change it around. And it's interesting to revisit a role, which I did in this case. And the setting was in Lucknow. And she was a much livelier person. The earlier Marathi movie had maybe a scene here and there lesser than what I had over here. So it was different. It was like doing a new part.
So now OTT comes in the picture, right? OTT has changed so much for individuals.
Yes, absolutely.
What are your thoughts on OTT? Other than the change?
No, it's a great platform, and I've done my bit on OTT. I'm still wanting to do more, but I'm just waiting for my turn, Shruti, because I think people have to place me. I can't go pursuing. I'm too old not to do all that. Roles come to me. So I began with Breathe, if you remember our Madhavan's. Yeah. So I was his mother, and it was a very, very pivotal role there. Excellent role. And then just now, I think there's another thing coming on Netflix, which is called The Royals. So I have a tiny, tiny part in it, yes. And then, of course, I did TVF Pictures season 2. I did a part in it. So they're still small parts, but I think they are quite significant for me because I'm finding a foothold over there. And I think OTT is something you can't really push. See, it's for the younger generation. It's about youngsters. So as we are concerned, I think it will be more of character actors and what, but they have to place me. I can't push myself. I do this and I do that. I'm going to pass way past that. My work is there to speak for itself. My languages are there to speak for themselves. So all people have to do is just come and they are. So sometimes something like just now, Royals was good fun because it was a short role, but it was great. And I had, my director was, both of them, they're all women, a team kind of thing. It was good fun to do that and looking forward to seeing myself there. And yeah, that's it. As of now, what I can remember is this. But I think I've done 1 or 2 more also. I can't say it. Because, by the time they're released, it's a good 2 years or 1 year or even films are, so it takes time. One forgets because since they're not the main characters or anything. So even Photo Frame was only a release on this thing, or even Signature, or even Shastri Will Shastri. They're all OTT platform films. I did a part in The Silence also, Silence 2, which was greatly appreciated. Manoj Bajpayee being in the pivotal. So Silence 2, I did something. So I'm finding a foothold. I feel the offers when they come in is more interesting for me than me going and pursuing something. So in the meantime, there's always theatre and there's always my languages going from Marathi to Hindi. And I think I'm very lucky and blessed to have a language like Marathi, which is so active, So if you're just sitting at home and you don't want, there's always another language to fall back on. And I think people who have in India, we all have our own mother tongue, and we should always do that if we do have a different mother tongue, like Bengalis and South Indians. South Indians always do that, but so do Marathi people.
But you ventured out of these languages too. You just mentioned that you did a French film.
Yes, I did a French series and I did a French film. The series was done in India. I did the part in India. It was called Rani, R-A-N-I, Rani, but in French it's Rani. And it was shown on France 2. It was exclusively for France 2 channel. And it was a beautiful series, beautiful. Oh my God, I was so proud to be a part of it. And I was this bad mother-in-law who had to speak dialogues and dialogues of French. And my French is okay. I'm a graduate in French and, that's it. But I'm not a French person, so that was a little tough. But then after, in 2015, I did a very, very wonderful film called Noces. Noces means the wedding. And it was, the producers were from Brussels and we shot it in Luxembourg. And it had a very beautiful international cast. It was about a family in Brussels in which I was the mother, and Babak Karimi, who's the Iranian actor, he was played my husband, and then there was the hero, he was French, and then there was my older daughter, Aurore, she was Greek, and and my own the daughter who was the heroine of the whole thing, and she was French, Moroccan French. So it was great, it was a fabulous experience. And it was directed by this extremely talented director called Stefan Strecker. And he's done a couple of films and he still is. So that was a very, very, very lovely experience for me. And I think my biggest joy for Noces was not only that I went for the premiere to Paris, but I attended. That was very sweet of them too. My role is quite big and nice. But I also, I was just so... that same film came to India in Goa for a Goa Film Festival, and I was the only one who was representing it. So that was another great time I had. I had a lovely time shooting it, post-shooting. Yeah.
That must be amazing, just to try a different language.
Yeah, I had to speak Urdu in it. I had to speak Urdu predominantly, But when they did meet me on a Zoom call, they realized that I do have a smattering of French, so which was they were very excited about. They all speak, they're more comfortable in French. So then they gave me one or two lines here and there. I said, now since I'm doing a French film, please. So it was great fun. I mean, with an international cast, where does one get an opportunity like that? Honestly, it's really something I can just go on talking. So please stop me.
No, I'm actually enjoying this conversation. I'll tell you why. I actually learned French when I was younger too. So I know French
Oui,
too.
tu
Oui,
es, tu aussi. Ah, c'est bien.
bonjour, comment ça va?
Oui.
Je m'appelle Shruti Doctor. Et vous?
Oui, je m'appelle Neena Kulkarni et j'ai étudié le français dans mon collège. Et après cela, j'ai fait des cours en Alliance française de Mumbai. Oui.
Wow, it's so amazing to meet somebody who has actually learned French, and even that, an
Yeah.
actress, right? Because you don't
No,
really
so
see
wherever,
that.
yeah, no. No, nowadays I think youngsters have more, but at that time, I mean, I don't know why I did French, but I just did. There were only 19 students in the university. I just wanted to try out a different language, and so I went there. I didn't get very great marks in my graduation, but I continued pursuing it because there were a couple of Hindi films which were dubbed in French for Mauritius and all that. So, and I remember there's a very famous film, Dil To Pagal Hai, Yash Chopra's film that time. So I was called to do the French dubbing for Aruna Irani's role in it. Yeah, so these experiences are nice when you have a language, you get it, and you are really thankful for it. Yes.
Yeah, I'm grateful too. So I know Swahili as well.
Oh, that I don't know.
And I know English, French, obviously, and Hindi. I'm very fortunate because I learned Hindi from, the yesteryear actors and actresses movies, and one
Oh,
of them was
lovely. Yeah.
yours.
Yeah, that's where you really learn it. Even if I'm doing something in Hindi, I tend to listen to old Hindi songs because that's where you get your correct Hindi from.
That's right. And the interesting thing is, whenever we play Antakshri, I mentioned this to Sohalia Kapoor just a couple of days because we were talking about a number of roles that she was performing. And we discussed that, majority of the songs that we sing is the older songs.
Yes, of course. That's why you have these renditions, new ones, where they kind of spruce up the song and then they come up with something else. I'm not a fan of that exactly, but yes, I think for the new generation to even know what the older songs were, I guess this is the way it is. I still would listen to the original, but of course I would. I
No,
grew up on that.
I listen to the originals. I love them.
But then I listen to all kinds of music. I listen a lot to English music also, which is on a regular, it's my regular loop. So I listen to classical, in Indian classical music. I listen to jazz. So I am quite a music buff.
What would you say is your favorite song at the moment, like the in thing for you?
No, I think I'm past the in thing again. But I like a couple of, in English, I would say my favorite is Elton John. I like Dire Straits, Mark Knopfler. Then, of course, I grew up on the Beatles. And there's this lovely group called Bread. Then there's Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. So all old groups. Amongst the youngsters, I think Nora Jones I really love her music. I love her music. Adele. She's fantastic. So these are just a few names I can think of now.
Yeah, my daughter loves Adele. She sings really well as well. So she's crazy about music.
Yeah, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. She was
And in Hindi, as I told you, it's Hindi music. I listen to all kinds. I listen to Marathi music a lot also.
That's really good. So tell me, you also did some work in a English movie, which was the Best Exotic
Marigold Hotel. Yes.
Tell me about your experience there.
Yeah, well, I was chosen. I was a casting director called Sehed Latif. Unfortunately, she's no more. Very, very lovely girl. So she called me up and she said, it is a small part, but it's going to be shot in Jaipur. And then she told me the cast, and I was like, I was completely gobsmacked, as they say today. I said, what? Judy Dench and Maggie Smith, and Tom Wilkinson, and the director was John Madden. It was a dream come true for me, and of course it was a local. I was a local Jaipuri woman, But the whole experience again, it's about the experience. It's not about how many days you shot and all. It's about what you take away from these people who are legendary actors, and their discipline, and the way John used to explain the scene to me. It's really very, very something which is very, very close to my heart. So I enjoyed those 5 or 6 days in Rajasthan, and which I will when I worked on the movie 6 days.
Tell me, did you have to go through an audition process? Because I understand that they're quite sticklers.
With that, I had to. In fact, yeah, for that I did. Even for the series Rani, I had to go through an audition. But for Nossa, I did not. It was just an interview one-on-one. As I said, my director and producer spoke to me, Michael and Stefan, and then they just decided that it was me. But yes, for this they did. But the audition was very. John himself came down to the audition. It's such a small role, and you feel so overwhelmed when something like this happens. And it was a very short audition. I think he just got what he wanted. Auditions are not about how well you've learned your lines or how well you're emoting. It's a look here. It's a smile there. It's more that. And once they get that, then you're all set.
That's very interesting.
I also did a part in recently, about 2 years ago, doctor series, huge heart hospital, good heart hospital, something. But that is okay. Nothing great.
No, I do remember that actually. We watched that whole series over here, and I think it stopped during.
It was very popular.
Yes.
Very popular. So I shot in Sri Lanka for that. Yeah. So this was a wonderful experience. Best exotic marigold hotel.
Tell me, what's the difference then between, the filming process in India versus doing something abroad?
Abroad, I've done abroad films here in India. And I've done one film in Luxembourg. The whole film was shot there. I think the discipline, basically, which we now have over here in act films and all, we have it more. We have the same kind of discipline, which is there abroad. But when I first started in Rani serial, it was like in the series in Jaipur, it was scary because I was not used to such strict timings and ETA, and she'd be leaving her hotel at such and such time, and then she'll be here and she'll be in the makeup room at such and time. So at that time I was not used to it. But I like it because I'm from theatre, and theatre has a certain amount of discipline. Unlike, say, maybe, the technical parts, television. They also, see, every art or every medium that I'm talking about has discipline, but they have separate disciplines. Everybody's discipline is different. Like if you're doing a daily soap in India, because you're shooting daily, it's like you're on your toes all the time, and the call time comes in late, and you're told whether you're shooting or not the next day, but late at night, because the screenplays are coming in, everything's happening at the same time. You're on the roll all the time, and so that discipline is different. And this, of course, but as I said, it was wonderful working with foreign actors. Not because I've got some kind of I'm not stardust in my eyes for them. It's like, for example, I can tell you about the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. I was shooting in dilapidated kind of a Jaipur house where Tom Wilkinson comes to meet me, and I open the door, and I open the door and Tom Wilkinson comes in, and we converse, and then I was on the first floor of it. That's where the scene was happening, and I was told that below, down, on the ground, Judy, Dench, and I think it was Bill Nye and Rupert, and they're standing there waiting for Tom Wilkinson to come back. They've helped him search for this house, and where he meets his Rajan Gupta, who's my husband, who happens to be his partner sometimes. So I was told that that's the site where you have to look down while you're glass there. And you won't believe, Shruti, in that Jaipur heat, it was 12:30 in the afternoon. The heat is excruciating there. These people were actually standing there to give me a sightline. These actors, which doesn't happen necessarily in India, you just have maybe somebody, or they just say, imagine somebody. each and every one of those actors who was supposed to be standing down was standing there for me to look at them. What do you say about this kind? It's just so humbling, and it's just so. Yeah, I'm very disciplined as an actor over here, and I've made. I am. Unlike a lot of actors, I am disciplined. I mean, I'm sure there are others also, but I'm proud of the fact that I've self-taught discipline. And then when you meet someone like this, or you see some kind of discipline, you just it's so it's so it warms your heart, to that you're on the right track. Like there are some people they make a, are you standing like that? Let the assistant stand, And I said, no, let me. I mean, there are once or twice I felt that the scene was important enough for me to go and stand there, so that they could look at the actual person. And then, so these kind of things warm your heart, because there are actually these huge icons who are doing it when they don't need to. So that was one nice experience.
Yeah, it's a certain level of respect to actually, when you think about Judy Dench and all the actors that you've really spoken about, they're such huge names, and it's such a wonderful sign of respect that they respect you, that enough to actually wait there in that heat and that sun and do it with you, That's amazing. Yeah. Tell me, what then, technically, what are the technical differences when it comes to Indian, cinema versus the Western, I call it the Western cinema. So we're looking at Hollywood versus Bollywood, I guess, or any sort of movies where you're done in French and stuff. Are there a lot of technical differences from the technology that they use?
See, when I have done them, I've done them perhaps like there was one in 2015 and there was one earlier, 2011. Yes, that time definitely I felt they were definitely better equipped, and they had more cameras that time, and like especially for Rani. Rani was a very, very, very big show. It was a huge show. It was a story which was followed right from, I think, Portugal to France to India to some other places. So it was a very long. I was just a very tiny part in Jaipur, and then a good part, but it was just one story. So yes, technically, I think they also have those kind of budgets, which and international.
Yeah, and that makes a difference, I guess, right?
Of course, it will. It always will.
You probably worked in the bigger movies and the smaller movies as well.
Yes.
What do you enjoy most? Do you like working the big crowds? Because normally in the bigger movies, you probably have more people on set, for example, whereas in the smaller movies, you'd have less people on set.
No, I don't think that's the criteria for that. A bigger movie means is huge stars you're working with. You're working with people whom you've adored on screen. And I've been fortunate enough to work with right from Mr. Amitabh Bachchan to Shah Rukh Khan to who else can I can't think beyond these two. I'm really a huge fan of these two. Then I worked with Aishwarya Rai and Abhishek Bachchan and Rani Mukherjee, Bobby Deol, then Sanjay Dutt. So I've worked with Akshay Kumar. So I've done a lot of movies in which I've worked with these big stars. So I think basically when you talk of bigger movies, I think what you're talking about is the bigger stars. So it's a different setup. Everything's huge. Everything's tenfold. The vibe is different. The whole vibe is like, it's like, whoa, it's like that. So it's great doing bigger movies. Basically I enjoy the whole process of acting. So wherever and whatever I've chosen, as I said, I've chosen it. And then I like the experience of working with such stalwarts where you have to be on your toes. You can't be lax over there and say, I've forgotten my line, because then Mr. Amitabh Bachchan will tell you your line, they're that well prepared. So it's really huge, and it changes your entire outlook towards the profession that you're in. It inspires me. I get inspired by people with this kind of discipline, and I take something positive from most projects that I do. Even a small project where you're doing something. I've done a lot of small projects. Small meaning, I would say, maybe economically small. But if you're doing a project in a village, doesn't mean it's a small project. It can be a big film being shot in a. So I've done some excellent filmmakers in Marathi, like Sumitra Bhave. I've done about 3, 4 films with her, and it was a wonderful experience. So she had a very stringent budget, but we used to have so much fun because she was a fantastic screenplay writer, and she, along with Sunil Subtankar, has made some memorable films. So when you take on something, you know what you're taking on. Nobody's going to fool you or anything. So I know what I'm doing. If I take up something, I know that I'm going it for a particular reason. I don't just take it up because someone's there and I'm going to be able to act with some big star. No, I don't do that. Not at all. But I take it up because what has been offered to me makes sense to me. And also the way it's offered. I mean, one has a manager and everything and all that, but initially you are the one who gets the call because I've been, so many years in the industry. So that's it.
Yeah. So now tell me, you mentioned Amitabh Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan, Aishwarya Rai, Abhishek Bachchan. What is it like to work with these big stars?
I told you, I've already answered your question, I think.
What I meant was, when you look at Shah Rukh Khan, people say he's such a humorous person, very down to earth, and he has this sense of humor.
But who are the people? I'm not people, now I'm acting with him. So over there, yeah. I really wouldn't like to comment on how because maybe with me somebody's different, or maybe because I'm a co-actor, right? So I'm not an audience who's as an audience I'm a huge fan of all of them. But when you're a co-actor, they're very cooperative. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't be. They're extremely cooperative. They're extremely warm. They would, wishing me since I'm a senior person, and they would wish me, simple things. People make a big thing and they want some story out of it. There isn't a story. The story is the film that we're making. Like I did Paheli with Shah Rukh, and I've done Phir Bhi Dil Hai Hindustani, which was his first film as producer. And it was amazing. I mean, in both places, I mean, Aziz Mirza was the director. And for me in Hindi film, the director is the biggest person. I looked at the director, like even when I did Guru. It was a Mani Ratnam film. I mean, who's going to say no to that? I didn't even ask the role. So it's not only about the stars, it's about the directors whom you choose. The stars add on to it. Like, all of them are very warm. Rani, Juhi, Aishwarya, all of them very, very warm people. And very courteous, and that's it. And you don't take them home or go after them to their home. It ends there. After pack up, it ends. You go your way, I go my way. At least for me.
No, I do agree with you when you say that a lot of people want stories, which is true. Other people do.
Yeah, and I don't have any stories, unfortunately. So I only have very nice goodwill and good memories about working with such. See, when you are working with a big icon, with a superstar, or with very, very popular people, they have become popular because of something they have. They haven't just sat at home and become popular. So that's what I look at. And I enjoy working with them.
Yeah, I don't want any stories about them.
I don't have any stories about them.
I truly believe that everyone's personal life is a personal life. You can't sort of ask personal questions. I think a professional relationship is very different, and we've obviously discussed that even previously, where when we look at somebody's professional life, you've got to give them that level of respect, and you've got to treat them professionally. And that for me is a big thing. So when I ask you about stars and how they act and stuff, it is because generally people do say, these stars have fantastic, not only cooperation with their co-stars, but they're also very nice, very humble people. And I believe that the media has a way and a knack, and I'll be open about it. I really don't care if I get bricks thrown at me.
No, you won't.
The media has a very nice way of taking a beautiful story and making it really sound.
It's a headline.
Correct. And I'm not into that.
Well, that's their job.
I'm not into that.
I've seen. So. That's why best to be mum, like me. I don't have any stories.
It's good. But the other thing too, I do see other podcasters out there, and their headlines just to get 100,000 views is not what I'm looking for.
No, I know. I wouldn't have come on your podcast if I thought it was that. So don't worry about that at all. It's not. It's just who I am. I don't really bother. I don't see it that way. I don't see any I'm too bothered with my own role and whether I can match up to those people. Yeah, where do I have the time to see what that person is doing? Honestly,
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes it's better just doing your own stuff and trying.
of course, our own stuff. I've been chosen for a reason, right? If I'm chosen in a film like Bhoot Nath, where Troubles 5 scenes, Mr. Bachchan, I better match up to him, or at least be, good enough so that. So then that's my concern over there is only that. It's not about you
What
know
they do or how
what
they do.
other
That's
people
true.
are thinking.
Yeah. No, it's correct. And it's very true. So I see you're very active on social media, and I love the social media posts that you actually put.
Thank you.
You do have some pets.
Yeah,
You have a couple of dogs and you have a bird. I was going to ask you about the bird. It's such a beautiful bird.
yeah. It's a
Is it a
cockatiel.
Yes, I was going to ask you that because in Australia we have a lot of cockatoos and cockatiels.
Yeah. Australia has amazing. Yeah,
You read, I saw you reading to a book to the beautiful bird.
yeah.
That is so amazing. I was
No, I'll tell
actually,
you the story behind it. It's a bird and mom series which I do on Instagram, and because my bird Fido is very fond of me, and we leave him sometimes when he comes and sits on my shoulder, and I have an audiobook. I had written. I used to write articles in papers earlier about the actress and then it got made into a book, and it was very popular in the 90s. So I decided that I would like to do an audiobook on my own for it. So I have made the audiobook already. So actually, Fido is helping me, and it's a kind of promotion of my own audiobook. That's what I do. So when I read out to him, I'm reading with the story, and then we listen together to the story. So it's just an idea that I do, and it seems to have caught well with people. So my audiobook is in Marathi. It's Antaranga, and it's all over again. Apple Podcast and Geo, Savan, and Google, wherever all podcasts are. So actually, it's part of my promotional activity.
tell me, what is this book about? Like, is it a children's book or?
No, why would it be a children's book? I was sub-editor, guest editor for a newspaper, which was they had started a women's kind of a sub this thing, newsletter, I would say. So they wanted a star editor for that. So it all began in 1993, 94 when they called me up and they said, that we would like you to be on it because I was known a lot. And so I would have automatically needed to write an editorial. So I told them, I said, I don't like to pretend to be this intellectual and I've written editorials all my life kind of thing. And so I would like to start with myself because I know myself. And little things that I've seen, or maybe an anecdote here, which has really come, it's like I've liked something or I've disliked something in society, or I have observed, mostly observations about life. And then they became so popular that I think for 3 or 4 years I was writing them. So the book came out again in 3 editions, and every time it got fatter. So I've chosen about 90% of them to make them into the audiobook.
So you're also a very good writer.
Decent, I think, yeah. I mean, I wrote then, now I don't write as much. I mean, I write more on social media, I think. But that was in Marathi. And so I also write in Marathi, yeah. I mean, that is in Marathi still.
Tell me about your free time. Like, you're such a busy individual. What do you do when you get that time and the space?
Nowadays, mostly resting, honestly, and just unwinding because life has become quite hectic. We no longer have that kind of, when we had 9 to 6 and then come home and chill. No, now it's 9 to 9 or even later. The traffic is worsened. So, commuting from home to that place and then from that place to home again is my unwinding. I read a lot. I listen to music. I play with my dogs. I go down for a walk. And, of course, interacting with my family. Simple things. Not very. I used to have a very, very big social circle where I really was one person who really was. I used to love to go out, and as I grow older, it's becoming more hectic. So yes, that's why I kind of cut down on all those things. And then there's also a lot of script reading. Every time there's something to read, actually I love to read and I don't get the time. That's why I kind of nowadays listen to audiobooks because my kind of reading, I'm left with no time because mostly there's some script coming in and I need to read and approve of it, and or there's somebody who's sent me an audio thing about a film that he wants to make and the role that he wants to cast me in. So you've got to hear that, and then you've got to decide. And so it's a lot of this kind of reading now, mostly, or auditions, testing. Very busy on that level also, yeah.
So do you have to do like online auditions, or do you have to actually travel?
Well, in COVID, it started online, thankfully. No, nowadays nobody really calls me for audition. I mean, I'm known now by now, so they don't really call me for testing. And if they do, only if it's worth it. They don't really. I send an intro and that's enough for them. And then I send a couple of links and that's fine. Like I did Amazon Unpaused on season 2. A lovely story I did, yeah. So that time they didn't take any audition. They just called me up, did it. So sometimes that's the pleasure.
Oh, but that's really good. At least you don't have to go anywhere for auditions.
Yeah, for OTT, somehow I haven't been auditioned. I've just been chosen, so that's nice for whatever it's worth. Yeah.
So do you think that things have changed pre-COVID versus post-COVID?
I think people were a little lackadaisical before. We never took our profession for seriously enough. A lot of people didn't. Post-COVID, I think sitting at home, a lot of people realize that what you're doing really is worth it, you know. So I see that. I see the younger generation getting much, much more dedicated and much, much more focused, you know, about what they're doing. And, the downside thing is that the pay scales have come down for people like us who are character actors. But that's a down. And COVID ke baad to aapko pata hai na kinds, which wasn't there earlier. That's sad. But I guess we'll be getting it up soon. So that's the downside. I always mention that in all my podcasts because that is the downside. Because as character actors, you know, they can manipulate and maneuver you any which way they want. So that's it. But yes, people have become much more professional. They're much more no nonsense. You know, all that, that thing, oh, I'm doing it. All that is gone. Very focused. I love the younger generation. I love working with them because they're extremely focused.
You know, I've spoken to a number of younger actors and actresses, and the one thing they've said is that they have, because of OTT, they have got the opportunity, to come into cinema.
It's a new lease in life, yeah.
Yeah, and because of that, they find themselves so lucky to be where they are and to be working so hard that, yes, I do agree that they're very professional.
Because of this is post-COVID, I'm telling you, because those 2 years were so scary for a lot of people. You know, I mean, people like us, what do you do? I mean, you're an actor, right? You have to go out there and you have to work. So I did, in fact, I worked in COVID. And a few lucky ones who had a regular daily soap, not a daily soap, it is a historical, beautiful show. And we had to go out of town to a place which had less COVID. So I stayed there for 3-4 months, all alone in one. It was scary, but I did it. I'm proud of it.
We were locked in Sydney, Australia. We couldn't even go. The only maximum you could do is go out for a walk. So I can understand.
Yeah, no, we couldn't even go for a walk. It was that bad here. So we had to be shifted out to a location, say in Gujarat or somewhere, borders where they're more open kind of thing. So I happened to be in a show that time.
So my last question for you, Neena ji, is what future projects will you be working in? You're reading a lot of scripts. You're doing so much. I know you probably can't speak openly about them, but anything?
Multiple things are coming. Just as I told you, I'm doing a play which is very, very close to my heart. It's very beautifully written, and I look forward to that because next month we'll be having a show. Our shows will start, and then I am definitely looking at more OTT. There's no doubt about that. My single focus is OTT because I know there's a space for me there. It's only the younger lot has to know where to put me, and I'm waiting. So whatever comes my way, I told you, whatever I've done just now. So I am definitely interested in OTT. Films come and go, and when films come, it's always a pleasure. Mostly, unless it's some, again, the setup is very important. You see, the production house is important. Whom I'm working. The director for me is always the most. If you notice my whatever I've done in Hindi films, it's always the director who's very, very good. All I've worked with Shankar in Nayak. Shankar, who did Ro Bole for your generation. Nayak, then I did Philby Dil and Sunny with Aziz Mirza. Then Paheli with Mani Ratnam. Ghayal once more with Sunny Deol. I mean, the Ghayal series is really good. And then Paheli with Amol Palekar. He was the director for that. And so many films that one can point out. With Mr. Raj Kavar, I did Dark the Fire. Then I did Badal. Different kind of cinema, but yes, that's the cinema he believed in. And I did films in down south, Hindi films down south at Padmalaya House of Production and Veeraman Naidu Productions. So I've done, so it's mostly these characters, you look at the director, you look what they're talking about and where they want to place you in the role. So I'm looking at that definitely. As I grow older, it's nice. Even if it's one scene. I did one scene in Tejas, the film. But the way they approached me was so much of respect, I said, yes, I'll do it. So it's also that. There's no hard and fast rule. I did one scene in Three of Us, the film which is greatly appreciated on OTT. Just one scene. It was really appreciated a lot. And I had to go somewhere out of town and do it. But when the director, I know him, he said, no, I can't think of it. And it's a lovely role. So it's not about one scene or two scenes. If the setup is good, if I know that what I'm doing is making sense, it's going to go out as good cinema, I will always do it.
The one thing I admire in OTTs is the script. They are so different, unique and wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's why we watch more of OTT than we do films actually. So good choice.
No, but OTT and films, I wouldn't make a difference because what you're talking about is films on OTT.
Yeah.
Yeah. Series and films. So they're both all on OTT only. It's not that they've gone all over and then come on OTT. No, there are some films which are made for OTT. The ones which I mentioned are all made for OTT.
Yes, and the ones that you've starred in recently as well, they came straight up on OTT.
Silence 2 also made for OTT, yeah.
Yeah.
So these are like web series and films, and we have a good choice, I think, of viewership.
Yes, that's true. Look, Neena ji, I want to thank you for your time. I truly appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
I know that you didn't, I'm not sure whether you wanted to do any more interviews, but I really, truly appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Shruti, for asking me such interesting questions and respecting my space. Thank you so much. Yeah.